We've seen in the previous story that we have been met and shown the evidence of climate crisis. So we want to find out more about this current state of global warming, and now we are already having a guest today, a meteorology and climatology professor at the National Research and Innovation Agency, who is also the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change Vice Chair of Working Group 1, Professor Dr. Edvin Aldrian. Good afternoon, Prof. Edvin. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so we're looking not only in Asia, perhaps in other countries as well, that the evidence of climate change is now very much in front of our eyes. And the 2015 Paris Agreement has said that we want to slow down the global warming by 1.5 degrees Celsius if possible, right? And the IPCC has already set the report saying that it's looking grim if the speed of global warming cannot reach 1.5 degrees Celsius. I mean, how is that report saying? Can you elaborate more?
Yeah, actually, every increase half degree of temperature will cause 7% of the possibility of new climate risk. It will increase the climate risk, and so weather risk and climate risk. And also the IPCC released in 2018 a report on the 1.5 degree Celsius we want to slow down. But on that occasion in 2018, we also introduced that the whole calculation of the world because we are doing a voluntary basis mitigation. But the total amount that the whole world contribute still only cope only 1/3 of the what we require all over the world.
So you're saying that the data does not really represent the whole world situation?
It is, it is, but it is not enough. So we need to have a stronger ambition. We have to do it 3 more times than the mitigation that we offer. This is the problem. We want to reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at the highest level, then we have to do it 2 or 3 times bigger for the whole country.
So even faster than 1.5 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, this is, and unfortunately, we released a new report this year, last year in August, which is updated the 2018, and that is, we calculated that possibility that we pass 1.5 degree Celsius 10 years ahead. So it is earlier than we expected before.
So, which means when is it going to come? I mean, Indonesia has its own nationally determined contribution, 29% if possible, or 41% with international help.
So the whole world is not enough, they say, IPCC say. So we have to do more ambitious goal. So when you say when is it reaching 1.5 degree, it is 2042, the new calculation. Previously, in 2018, we calculated, we reached that point in 2052. So now we
2042.
Yeah, 10 years ahead. This is very exciting news.
So, but how do you comment on the last Glasgow meeting on the climate change? Is it actual, or do you think that what they have said there is not enough to slow down the global warming?
Yeah, it's not enough. So I think we have to do more. I think. And then IPCC plan to update this. We make it a global stock take. We update it regularly. Every 5 years, we update it whether we have enough contribution, whether we have enough voluntary basis. So we keep updating that from now on.
Okay, so
starting next year.
Okay. So we have to be more ambitious, and we have to keep updating it. Now, Professor, it is increasingly clear that human health and well-being are being threatened everywhere because of global warming and environmental damage. Now, according to one study, heat-related mortality has increased 61% in Thailand, Vietnam, and the Philippines since 1990s. Can you tell us, what about Indonesia? How are we doing?
Yeah, I think that is related to extreme event. Extreme and weather and climate. Because maybe we can survive, but for the low income civilian, maybe they cannot survive as easily as we are, and also maybe they need to adapt more or faster. This is the first victim of the climate change, usually like that. So that's why the UN already showed that climate change will be the most dangerous factor for human being after the war. After the war. So Ukraine war and Russia maybe not even, because the UN Secretary General they mentioned that after Ukraine and Russia war, there is another war for us. This is climate change. We have all the mean that we have to do it for climate change.
Yeah.
So not allowing people to migrate from one country to the other, something like that.
Yeah.
So we have to be cautious about this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here, even in Jakarta, in Indonesia, we've seen that June and rain is happening quite often.
Yeah.
And this is, even in the idiom, June rain in Indonesia is something that never happened. But we see now, in the morning sometimes, or in the afternoon, it rains. And also, you can also see it in southern Philippines, in Thailand, and some other Asian countries. So what is your take on this?
Yeah, I think June rainfall is not very common.
Yeah.
The only one thing that I explain this is because the sea level rise. The sea surface temperature is rising. Because the more surface temperature rise, the more evaporation you have, the more rainfall you get. So this is the only explanation. Because we only balance that with the El Nino, but this couple years El Nino did not come. But this is not sad news for you. It is a good news for Indonesia. Why? Because we are in the middle of pandemic. Yeah. That's why we have a surplus of rice. The President Jokowi mentioned that for the past 3 years we did not import rice because of the climate is very good for us. Climate is supporting us. This is a good news. Good news for us that maybe for the people in the sea, they for the fishery, because I heard that there's a problem in the Bangladesh or India.
That's right.
Because the fishery there did not have any catch. But for the people in the land, for rice production, it is good news. That's why President mentioned that for 3 years we did not import rice.
So good for agriculture, but not good for the fisheries.
Something like that, always like that.
Right, and as Alia mentioned earlier, there's plenty of rain in Jakarta, but meanwhile, the western parts of the country, like Aceh, experiences a dry season with heat spots and potential forest fires. So what's the cost of this? How come we're having rain over here, but then the heat spot over there? What's going on actually?
Yeah, because also some experts in the IPCC, I heard from the Australian expert, they mentioned that the rain, the climate change will make the wet region become wetter and the dry region even drier. This is also true. That's why we have every increase of the temperature, sea surface temperature, we have a 7% increase of the extreme, of the climate extreme. One of the result is the dry become drier, the people wet become wetter.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, in Indonesia, you mentioned about fisheries. In some places, the fish that we usually found in an enormous or abundant numbers, it's been less and less because Indonesia as an area is already hot. It's getting hotter. And it moves to subterranean countries, or the other countries that are cooler. And also we've seen waves like in Pakistan and Bangladesh, you just mentioned as well. Could what happened there affect us here?
Yeah, unlikely, because only maybe in the north tip of Sumatra, maybe up to Medan, it is affected by what happened in India or Bangladesh. Very unlikely. But we have our own common climate system. But in the climate analysis, when you get blessed for the land, it will be unfortunate for the people on the sea.
Yeah.
It's something like balance like that.
All
Professor, air pollution have been making headlines lately.
Yeah.
So how does climate change affect air pollution, especially here in Jakarta?
We're in the top. Do you think that represents the whole situation here?
I don't think so. Maybe we are high, but maybe not in the top, but maybe high. You must see that we have monitoring for Jakarta, mostly in the U.S. Embassy and the U.S. Consulate. The people working in the embassy, they put in the yard, and also from BMKG. So this is very instantaneous. You can see from your gadget, you can see that this data. But what happened here at 7 o'clock maybe, it doesn't represent maybe in Saudi Arabia maybe 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Because you have
time zone.
low emission for the for example, people can run in the GBK maybe in the morning, but after 7 o'clock in the morning, it is maybe dangerous for them.
Yeah.
But maybe it is true for in Jakarta here, but maybe for people like in the performing pilgrimage, I know in Saudi Arabia, maybe 7 o'clock here means 3 o'clock in the morning. So this is very difficult situation that you monitor all over the world. So maybe you can say Indonesia number one. I don't think so. This is very instantaneous object.
Yeah.
And I also see that beside the U.S. Embassy, the measurement also done in the consulate near Blok M.
In
This is
South Jakarta.
South Jakarta, very heavy and densely traffic condition.
Yeah.
So I don't think it is fair to represent Jakarta.
So
like
it's
that.
unfair when you only check on certain spots.
Yeah.
So what do the government needs to do? I mean, it's quite a bad image for Jakarta, for Indonesia as a whole, that we have the worst air quality index for some days. What do you think the government should do for this?
But this data, you can see not only instantaneous data, but you can see the statistic on the performance, how many days are good, how many days are bad. But you can see this is not only instantaneous data. So one data is not enough to represent one area. So we need to plan more rehabilitation for forests surrounding the city of Jakarta, because we heard that the China government has done a lot. They know about the situation in China is very bad for air pollution, because the Gobi Desert, they bring the desert storm to the Beijing. And then after that, the China government asked the military for China. They plant many trees, and even they plan with airplane for small plantation, and then they are very successful after that. They're reducing the air pollution very much after that. I think that is in 2016. I think we must do the same thing.
Right.
Whatever the China doing.
Okay. Now, Professor, can we talk about our neighboring countries? So, as we know, countries in Southeast Asia are easing their travel restrictions. Does this affect air pollution in the region?
Of course, yeah. But maybe on the small scale, because the tourists maybe only when the pandemic hit the world, maybe, there is less air traffic. Less people traffic all over between Europe and Asia and America, like that. So suddenly because the air traffic causing the contrail. This is the after the airplane you have the contrail. With the less traffic, that means less contrail. The less contrail, that means less air pollution. It is happening like that during the pandemic, but only very short period, something like that. But after for a while, then like today, we don't have any less contrail in the world.
Yeah.
So we come back to the position before. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, the whole world is now trying to make a greener planet by doing renewable energy, shifting from fuel to greener energy. But according to the WMO, there are 4 indicators that showing that the global or the climate changes, what do you call it? Indicators are now shown, like the sea level rise, as you mentioned, the heat of the sea also, and the acidity, as well as the concentration of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere in 2021 that has also risen. Now, can this condition be reversed? I mean, we, Indonesia, are located in a place where we have a lot of forests and all that. Can we do more to slow down this climate change, global warming?
If you see from Papua, Kalimantan, Sumatra, and Java, Java is already doing better. It's going, the forest cover is still going up right now. But for Kalimantan and Papua, it's still going down. But we wait for maybe a couple decades and then it's going up again. Right. In the SBA presidency, they call 30% of the land cover must be forest.
Yeah.
If we continue that in Jokowi era, I know that right now Jokowi want to build a new capital.
Yeah, the IKN.
And the new capital, he said that must be 70%
of forest
cover. I think we can rely on that. I think the good news is that Indonesia forest actually recover faster than we think, and then we can do it better than other country predicted for Indonesia. So I think for right now we are in the president of G20 and we are building the new capital. I think it is good for Indonesian government maybe to encourage more bilateral, not multilateral, but bilateral. Bilateral cooperation, because bilateral cooperation can be faster than multilateral. So to build also the new capital and also the because IPCC also stated very clearly during the last report that we need the forest and biodiversity to help us doing mitigation for climate change and adaptation for climate change for coastal area and so on like that. That is typically Indonesian what we're doing.
Yeah.
So because IPCC has released almost 7 or 8 what we have to do by country, and almost all of them is doing by Indonesia.
It's done by Indonesia.
Done by Indonesia before, so we are not very far from that. So we have to doing little bit multilateral into bilateral effort.
So it's more concrete for Indonesia as well. So it's good that Indonesia is doing well, and probably when the capital city is being moved to East Kalimantan, then it's time for Jakarta to actually recover its quality as well in terms of its nature. Hopefully soon. So thank you so much, Professor Edvin Aldrian, for joining us in the 3 Hour News Show and being here in the studio. It's good to hear from you all the insights.
Yes.
And hopefully we are getting great news as well in terms of environment here, not only in Jakarta, but Indonesia as a whole.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much.